This is Between the Lines, a show that delves in deep into issues that are discussed both here in Kenya and abroad. So today we will be discussing the Reproductive Health Bill 2019 by Senator Susan Kihika, a bill that was presented in Parliament in May for second reading. The bill, dubbed the Reproductive Health Bill 2019, has received condemnation and huge uproar from various sections of Kenyans and leaders across the nation. Chief of position has been from the members of the clergy, where they have voiced their sincere and deep condemnation to the bill. So today I'm joined in studio to discuss this with the Nakuru Pastors Fellowship Association chairperson, Pastor Alex Maina, who is also the lead pastor of Deliverance Church Kiamunyi here in Nakuru. Karibu mchungaji.
Asante.
And I'm very happy that you found time to come to our show.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. So first question first. Pastor, have you read the bill in full?
Yes, I've read the bill in full. Yes.
And after reading it, that's when you felt that you and other members of the clergy felt that there was need to be addressed about it.
Yes, and maybe to start with, there's something maybe would like to kind of say as a foundation of our talk this afternoon.
Okay.
Kwanza ni kwamba we are not at war with our senator, because that is what's coming out when you talk to people maybe in our streets in Nakuru. You find that it's like we are fighting our senator. We are not fighting our senator. What we are actually doing, we are God's voice in the land as servants of God. We are watchmen. That's what the Bible calls us. We are watchmen.
Yes.
And Bible is the basis on to which we are talking. Whereby when we see as a watchman, just if you're a watchman and watching over this house, if you see something from afar and you kind of detect there's something that is not okay with it, definitely you raise an alarm. So the church in the whole country, and maybe everyone in the church who is speaking against this bill, is actually raising an alarm that as watchmen, because we watch over the lives of the people, and that is the mandate we've been given by God, there's some things that we have seen from afar that may be kind of putting some people's life in danger. So that is where we are coming from. So number one, we are not at war with our honorable senator.
Okay.
She's our friend. So we just want to maybe look at some issues at the bill and to try to go through them together.
Yes.
And then
I believe that is why you also agreed to our idea of coming to here.
Yes.
Now, a few weeks ago, you had a press conference where you were discussing, among other issues, the Reproductive Health Bill.
Yes.
And if I may quote your words, because I was there and it was you who actually read the speech, you said that the bill aims at weakening the family structure, encouraging behavior that will be against our public health policy, and is based on an ideology that is not keeping with the Constitution of Kenya, and belief in the Almighty God of all creation.
Yes.
The pastors now term this bill ungodly and unnecessary. Pastor Maina,
Yes.
why do you think the bill, the first part, weakening the family structure?
Okay, maybe what we need to do, we need to maybe have a look at several areas in the bill, because what you have read is our conclusion.
Okay.
After going through maybe several areas in the bill, that is the conclusion that we came up with.
Okay.
And that's what I was reading that day when we had a press conference.
Yes.
So you have to look at the bill kind of almost in its entirety,
Okay.
so that to come, because you have started with our conclusion.
Yes.
And what I would say, maybe I know maybe people have read the bill.
Yes.
If they haven't, they need to, because we need to be able to stand for or against anything that is. We stand for what is good,
Yes.
and we stand against what is not, what we think is not right for our people.
Okay.
Maybe going looking at history. We were kind of bringing a new constitution. The new constitution, a big part of the church was on the no part of the constitution campaign, and one of the reasons why we were against that constitution, the document, the draft that we were given first, is because according to us, we were interpreting some areas as they were to support abortion. That's to support abortion. And we stood as people who are saying no to the constitution, to that part of the constitution, and definitely because of that we were rejecting the constitution.
The entire constitution.
Then, and eventually we had a new constitution in 2010. And our areas were dealt with in a very honorable way, and we are okay with the constitution that we have today. Only maybe, but definitely there is always a room for improvement in some areas. Then in 2014, in the 2014, there was a bill that was brought to our Senate in Nairobi by one of the senators, and by the CS Education then, Honorable Jacob Kiamunyi. He said that bill is going to introduce immorality to our children, and the bill was thrown out. Actually, he said that this is not morally right. It's not going to raise our children in the right way as we want them to become as Africans, as Christians. So, and the bill was thrown out. But now, in October of 2019. That is when our good senator also came up with the Reproductive Health Care Act 2019, and that is the issue we are discussing today. And we can look at several things before we talk about the bill. Maybe let's start by looking at what we call human reproduction.
Okay.
Or human reproduction. Human reproduction, we can refer it to as procreation. Yeah, that's how we bring people into the world, through human reproduction. So biologically, procreation is a function only possible between a male and a female. Though it is the female who carries and gives forth the kid. So that we need to kind of interpret human reproduction at that level, because we believe that human reproduction is a male and a female, and the female carries the kid to birth, and that is how people come into the world, and that is what is biblically right. And maybe having a look at this bill, we have some issues with how it brings out that message of human reproduction. Maybe like if you have it there, we can just look at we can look at.
And for those who are watching us on our different platforms, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, you're using the hashtag Between the Lines, where we'll be discussing the Reproductive Health Bill 2019. Send in your comments, send in your suggestions, send in your questions, and we will sample them as the show continues.
Yeah, but by the way, before we get to the articles, there's what you have talked to me about the family. What do we believe in terms of it's going to break the family unit? There's when this bill came out, we also have our own professionals in the church. We have our Christian professionals who are well versed in the matters law and other matters. So they had to look at the bill for us. And one of the things that was really coming out was the mind behind the bill, where the ideology came from. And it was widely agreed, and this is a matter that we can discuss with our senator, it's a matter that can be discussed, that the ideology behind this bill comes from they call the Sexual and Reproductive Health and Rights. There's that ideology that is called SRHR. Maybe you can notice, somewhere you can even look at it later, whereby it is an ideology that promotes sexual rights and human rights. On the face value, it looks wonderful, but what they believe that sexual experience is mainly for pleasure, not procreation. That is not in the bill. I think you're getting where I'm coming from. But that's what we lead, that this is the mind based on some terms that are used in the bill.
Allow me to ask you.
Yes.
Now, the sexual reproductive health bill that you're mentioning,
yes,
you want to purport that it is from it that the senator brew the bill that we're having today?
Yeah. It has to have come from somewhere. Like it has.
But I think because I have listened to her discussions both on social media and also on different media interviews, she has stated categorically that this bill is meant to protect the women, the girls, and the ladies of this great republic.
Yes.
Where are you coming from?
You know what I'm saying? Definitely understand the mind behind the bill according to the words of the senator. And if you read the bill in some areas, it looks as if it is protecting our girl child mainly and protecting life. But there are some areas in that bill, and that's what we, in a few minutes, we're going to look at the very actual articles in the bill that we as a church we are actually saying this is not right, this is ungodly. But I was actually saying that there is an ideology that came. It's an international belief. It's called a sexual and reproductive health and rights that advocates for rights of maybe sexual rights, that interprets sexual experience that it is mainly for pleasure and not for procreation. That is one of the things that that ideology brings out. It also brings out that sexual pleasure is a right. So that's something we can take a lot of time and interrogate. But I want us to go direct to the to the bill itself.
Yes.
First of all, I would like to look at the bill where it talks about article number 3. Let's just go to article number 3, and I can read the article for you. The article number 3, where it says this: the object of this act, A, provided a framework for the protection and advancement of reproductive health rights for every person. And number C, if you can read it there, it says ensures access to quality and comprehensive health care services to every person. Actually, there we have an issue with every person. We also have an issue with reproductive healthy rights for every person. I just wish if every person was defined. You know, whereby I say that we are looking at this as a watchman, whereby every person is an area that can be abused. You know, we just need to get somebody who can interpret every person as every person and bring some teachings maybe to a kid who is mtoto maybe wa miaka kama 10 hivi, can be taught some things that they're not supposed to be knowing at that particular age, because they are supported by a bill that will pass as law, whereby it says that this, we are looking for the reproductive health rights for every person.
On that matter,
yes.
On that point, allow me. So you say that the Article 3 Part A says
yes.
The object of this article, this act, is to provide a framework for the protection and advancement of reproductive health rights for every person.
Yes, yes.
So the issue here is every person.
Yes, and also that they need the reproductive health rights. Those rights, they need to be very well defined.
Allow me to take you to the Constitution.
Yes, yes.
Constitution Article 43, Section 1A states that the Constitution provides that every person has the right to the highest attainable standard of health, which includes the right to health care services, including reproductive health care.
Yes, that is
the Constitution.
That is the Constitution
of Kenya.
But this one goes deeper, because later we are going to see on what it defines as rights, those rights, and what they call health.
Okay.
We're going to go bit by bit. We're going to go bit by bit.
Okay.
So we're saying that every person has a right to assisted reproduction. So this, what we are saying on that angle, that this article is prone to abuse. I think you are getting me from where we're coming from. That this article is prone to abuse, whereby if it is not well defined as to who every person is.
Allow me to ask you, Pastor Maina, if you were drafting this bill, you as Pastor Alex would replace reproductive health rights replace every person with?
I may not be able to, because this is not my bill.
Okay,
this is not my bill. We cannot go that directly into my bill, because definitely we are going to get on what it means. It also defines like adolescence, that a person from 10 years to 18 years. Maybe that is what they were calling every person.
Yes.
If you define a teenager, let me just read something for you.
It's in the preliminary.
Yeah. If you define adolescence as any person between the ages of 10 to 18. So if that is your definition of a teenager or an adolescence, in the Kenya law, these are children. These are children. Let me just finish.
Mind you,
These are
Pastor
children
Alex,
who are protected from sexual activity, which is termed as defilement. Like, let's take a 10-year-old kid.
Yes.
Before even we go to 18. Let's get a 10-year-old kid. A 10-year-old kid, that is a child which, from the Kenyan law, we are supposed to protect them from sexual activity, which we term it as defilement.
Yes.
So definitely, if those among them who engage in sex are to be considered as and treated as delinquent, and they should go for counseling if they engage for sex at allowed the age of 10. So if you are opening to teach teenagers comprehensive sexual health. And teenagers, we are defining a teenager as a 10-year-old. They are also, as the church, we feel that we are not supposed to take that kind of education to 10-year-olds. These people are not even fully developed to understand some things.
Pastor Alex,
Yes.
the World Health Organization defines an adolescent as an individual in the group of ages between 10 and 19 years of age. Actually, because I listened, I have been following this discussion. This bill defines an adolescent as between 10 and 18. The World Health Organization defines an adolescent as 10 and 19.
Okay, you are still quoting the World Health Organization.
Yes, because it is actually the organization that all these countries are party to in regards to matters of health.
And that's where we are coming in as a church. We can even question some things that are in the WHO as the Church of Jesus Christ. We are not, that is not, because Kenya is part of WHO,
Yes.
it doesn't mean that whatever WHO brings into the country, the church supports. We are coming from a very different platform. We are coming from, we are ambassadors, we are God's voice. So anything that would come, whether from WHO, whether from the United Nations, as long as it is not going according to the word of God, and we believe according to the word of God, like let's say, even if we are, maybe they are biologically mature to get a kid, or to have maybe to enter into that kind of sexual activity, they are not socially mature. They are still socially immature to handle some areas of sex at 10 years. So actually, maybe it's something I need to make clear to us as we discuss this this afternoon.
Yes.
As I'm speaking from the church point of view. I'm not really standing on WHO or the UN.
Okay.
I'm speaking as a voice of God. So there are some things like that definition of 10 to 18-year-old. As a church, we have always had an issue with whether it is given by definition is given by the WHO or whoever gives the definition.
And I respect that for what it is. My only concern is this. Where we were reading about, that was Section 3. Object of this act is to provide a framework for the protection and advancement of reproductive health rights for every person. Okay? That means that every person, irrespective of their age, right from 10 to as old as 80, has a right. Has a right to reproductive health.
Sure they do.
They do.
They do. But that right, where I'm coming from, it depends. Like a 10-year-old, there's they have a right to know some things in matter, sexual and health. It depends on what you are teaching a 10-year-old and what you are teaching an 18-year-old and what you are teaching a 24-year-old. So if you are teaching that is progressive, that there's a little introduction, like the way we do school, whereby there's what you tell a 10-year-old, even in terms of mathematics and all that. There's what you tell an 18 based on the class that they are in. But this one is coming out that we want to teach them their comprehensive sexual education from 10-year-old. So what are you teaching the 10-year-old? That is the question.
Mind you, Mr. Pastor Alex, looking at this article, it provides a framework for the protection and advancement.
We will get it.
Does this really mean that it is all about sex education?
What I said is it's not really all about sex education, but we have an issue with sex education. That is where we are coming from. And we said, if you read me, I said this is prone to abuse. Maybe right now, as long as it is just is that everyone has a right, every person has a right. Right now, you can come up with maybe with an education system to teaching sexual education to kids, and maybe you have a lesson for 10-year-olds, but that one is prone to abuse. Somebody else can come later and bring some education to a 10-year-old that the 10-year-old is not mature enough to handle. And we see that's where we are coming from as a church. We see an open door there. If you're going to give this to 10-year-olds for misuse, for abuse, that's why I said it's prone to abuse. It's prone to abuse.
Because of time and another logistics that we have, let us go to the next issue that you had about termination of pregnancy.
Maybe we can start from. Let's start from because it comes under this surrogate parenthood
Surrogacy.
thing. Yeah, which is good. It's wonderful if it is done. Actually, we are not even fighting surrogate parenthood as a whole, but definitely there are some areas. Let me read for you Article 14.
Okay.
Article 14:1. And the bill says this: a party may enter into a surrogate parenthood agreement only if A, the commissioning parent or commissioning parents are not able to give birth to a child and that condition is irreversible. So the fact that one person can be a commissioning parent, according to us, we think and we feel that it opens door for men in a same-sex relationship to seek a child through surrogacy. The fact that the commissioning parents are defined in this bill to be, if you go to the definitions,
it means a man or a woman who seeks the help of a surrogate mother to bear him or her a child through artificial insemination.
Yeah, the fact that the commissioning parents are defined is also defined in this bill as people of they are supposed to say they are people of biological opposite gender as biological sex. We are actually calling the owners of the bill to put there that we are talking of biological sex. Definitely, this is what is advising us. Maybe you can maybe it's not advising us. If you define gender in today's language, where we are today, maybe before we had only male and female as gender, but now we have transgender. We definitely other genders that have come into play, and like now the transgender is well received as a gender, whereby we can have a male boy, a male man, and a transgender who male, and they want to get a kid. So we find that there, if it is not defined as biological sex, it opens a window for the people of the same sex to access assisted reproductive services. For example, in the event of a man in a relationship with a transgender woman, meaning a man who has gone through surgery and hormonal treatment to become a woman, then that would qualify them to be commissioning parents because that relationship is definitely sterile. Because they're saying that surrogacy is available, is supposed to be given to those who are sterile. So we see there another door, whereby in this bill, we would love if the things to do with marriage, it is well stipulated that it is between a biological sex, male and female.
For those who are joining us, this is an edition of Between the Lines. We are discussing the Reproductive Health Bill 2019, proposed by Senator Susan Kihika, that has received wide condemnation and opposition by the members of the clergy. In studio today, we have Pastor Alex Maina, who is the lead pastor of Deliverance Church Kiamunyi, and also the chairperson of the Nakuru Pastors Fellowship. So, the issue here is that the word commissioning is not binding.
Yeah, the one, even the definition of opposite gender is not really, we want it to be kind of explained beyond that. Well, what I'm saying is, as a church, we feel that the opposite gender may be, again, abused. As long as it's not indicated, it is a biological male and a biological female.
Allow me to ask you, Pastor. We do know that there are those people who go through surgery.
Yes.
What about those that are born with both male and female reproductive parts?
Definitely, there are people who go through surgery, like we are calling transgender.
Yes.
There are also those people who think that they are born with both male and female organs.
Yes.
And maybe there's a dominant
breed or gene inside.
Yes. But that is an issue that is really, even right now.
Do you think if we now say that those that are born transgender, they do not have the right to have children, do you think we could be unfair to them?
But you understood what I said about transgender. I said transgender according to interpretation, not people who are born that way. I said a man or a woman who has gone surgery and hormonal treatment. Maybe a man to look like a like a woman.
Yes.
You know, we don't want to go to a discussion maybe on other people, how they are born and how they are created. People have a right to stay the way they were created.
Yes.
The way they were created. If they were born with those two kind of, I think it was a discussion, it has been a discussion on the transgender. But the transgender we are talking about here are the transgenders whereby it's a matter of discussion again. We can still come up with a topic and we can discuss homosexuality again and transgender, what the church thinks about that.
Yes.
But for the interest of today's lesson, we are talking about a person who has gone through surgery. This is a boy who felt maybe they are a woman and they went through surgery, they did all those hormonal things and they became woman. So and then they are married to this man, so they need a kid. So basically, actually, that kid is being raised by two men.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. So so what was the other item of discussion? I had a termination of pregnancy.
Definitely. Definitely. We also need to look at areas where it talks about termination
of pregnancy.
And maybe without really going a little, we may go a little bit deeper. But looking at termination of pregnancy.
Yes.
According to the Word of God.
Yes.
A kid or a person, a person begins at conception.
Yes.
Whereby when that sperm meets the egg, and there is that conception there, that is where, according to the Word of God, conception, life begins actually there. Life begins at conception. That's why we base a lot. We have definitely quite a number of scriptures that help us to base our faith on that, because even God tells somebody like David that I formed you in your mother's womb. So whereby when the egg of his father and the sperm of his father and the egg of his mother, they met and David was conceived.
Yes.
So God says I called you. He was called. So that's a person. Jeremiah is told by God that before you were born, I knew you. Before I put you in my mother's womb, in your mother's womb. So that you is a person. We believe, and the reason why we are arguing about all these things in relation to abortion and terminating pregnancy is because we believe life begins at conception. That is what we fight for as the servants of God.
It is between the lines where we are and will continue discussing Reproductive Health Bill 2019. Joined in studio, we have Pastor Alex Maina, who is helping us discuss this. We'll take a small breather. We'll be right back after this break. welcome back. We are here live at Nakuru TV. Between the Lines is the show. And today we are discussing the Reproductive Health Bill 2019, proposed by one Senator Susan Kihika, that has received wide condemnation from the church. And in studio we have Pastor Alex Maina, lead pastor of Deliverance Church Kiamunyi, and also who is also the chairperson of the Nakuru Pastors Fellowship. Bona Pastor, you were telling us something about the termination of pregnancy.
Yeah, we have talked about a little bit about the surrogacy, and we have I actually said what the church views in terms of how it can be abused. Article 18, maybe if we can have a look at it. Article 18 says this. Article 18:1, a surrogate parenthood agreement may be terminated. Yeah. Okay. So and then it kind of let's go through it. Yeah.
Oh, yes,
yes. Automatically. Following the termination of pregnancy in accordance with this act.
Yes.
B, before the implantation of a fertilized embryo in the surrogate mother's womb. All, C, where a dispute arises between the commissioning parents and before the fertilized embryo is implanted in the surrogate mother. Number 2, where the commissioning parent or commissioning parents have reason to believe that the child born is not the child contemplated under the surrogate parenthood agreement. The commissioning parents or commissioning parents may apply for the conduct of DNA test of the child. Number 3, where upon the conduct or the conduct a DNA test under subsection 2, it is found that the child born is not the child contemplated under the surrogate parenthood agreement. The surrogate parenthood agreement shall be terminated automatically.
Yes.
We go to number 4, where the surrogate parenthood arrangement terminates under subsection 3, the commissioning parents or commissioning parents shall not bear any parental rights over the child. So here we have there are several things that we have pointed out as a church.
Yes.
So the article demonstrates clearly how assisted reproductive commodifies, discriminates, and abuses the dignity of the child. Definitely there, nobody is talking about the child. The child is being terminated.
Okay.
So nobody is talking about the rights of the child, because we are calling, whether you're calling it a fertilized embryo, according to us in the definition I've given to you before, that life starts at conception, we are talking of a child. Here we have talked about the commissioning parents only. We have not talked anything about the rights of the child. So the only express mention of termination of pregnancy in this bill is if the child is suspected to be mentally or profound to be physically challenged. The bill offers the killing of such a child. What the bill refers to as fertilized embryo, we, the church, we are calling that one a human being, a person with the full right and privileges and our constitution, and very vulnerable, that they need somebody else to speak for them. And that's where the church is coming in to speak for the child who they are calling the fertilized embryo. Because we believe that life begins at conception.
Allow me to take you back.
Yes, please.
At the beginning of this section 18, it says a surrogate parenthood agreement.
Yes.
This is not termination of a child. This is the agreement between these two surrogates.
Okay, where we have read, let's just go there.
Yes.
So that we may not lose
so
somebody.
that we do not lose track of what we are talking about.
Yes.
18:1, a surrogate parenthood agreement may be terminated.
That the surrogate agreement may be terminated.
The agreement
may be terminated. Yes.
But
it also kind of doesn't support what I'm saying. First of all, it doesn't support the right of the kid. I think it goes beyond that, because we also have the termination of pregnancy. Maybe we have not read everything through, but it also talks about the termination of pregnancy. I think I'm handling them together.
It is on the next. Actually, it is just.
It's on the article 26. A pregnancy may be terminated. They're also talking about the termination of pregnancy. My point was, thank you for noting that.
Yes.
My point was the kid whom this bill supports, that they can be. Let me look at that.
Just go to 18:1.
Go to B of 18B.
18B.
Yes.
Before the implantation of a fertilized embryo in the surrogate's mother's womb.
Go to that point, up there. According to us, a fertilized embryo is a person. That's where I'm coming from.
But the embryo has not yet been inserted in the womb.
Yeah, whether they have done it through just the way they can. That's the way they can raise kids in a lab.
Yes.
Those are people.
Yes.
Those are people. If the conditions are right, and maybe an egg and a sperm they meet somewhere and they are put in some incubators or something, whatever. Scientifically, I'm not really in that area. But a kid maybe can be produced that way. But what we are saying is that fertilized embryo is a person. If it was happening in a human body, and conception has already begun. That is what we call conception. That if it was in a human body, that lady has conceived. The human being has started being formed. So this fertilized embryo, the bill is calling fertilized embryo. According to us, this is a person. So it's not supposed to go up to this level. We're not supposed to kill this embryo. This is a person we are killing. That is where we are coming from as a church. I think you're understanding that's why we are speaking as men of God, that by doing that, and definitely you need something else. If termination is done at that level, whereby before it gets into the mother's womb, do you know what we have? Definitely we have 100% death of the kid all the time, because that it cannot survive away from the mother's womb. So there's a whole new door of killing what we call people as a church. We are calling that's a person, whereby you bring your sperm, you bring your ovary, and then they are put together. There's conception. That life has begun according to the word of God. Life has begun. So if you kill that fertilized embryo, you are killing a person. So that's where we are coming from. So termination of pregnancy simply means deliberate bringing the pregnancy to an end. So if such termination is performed before the preborn person can sustain life outside the mother, it would lead to that 100% death all the time.
Okay.
So basically what we are saying is that life begins at conception. That is actually the message the church is bringing out. That in whatever discussion that we will discuss about life, we need to define that life begins according to God at conception. So anything that would be happening in the discussion about what has happened in conception, even before the kid is born, you are talking about the life of a human being who has rights. Maybe they can't talk up for themselves, but these are people who have rights. So somebody needs to talk about them, and that is a church. We don't just call them eggs or embryos, fertilized embryos. So that is where we are coming from. And so then the termination, we are looking at the termination of pregnancy. Okay. The Article 26,
Article
26.1. A pregnancy may be terminated by a trained healthy professional where, in the opinion of a trained healthy professional. So, definitely, because this bill defines trained healthy professional as a registered clinical officer, a registered nurse, and a registered midwife, Article 26 implies that this cadre of healthy professionals can offer an opinion on termination of pregnancy. This is very misleading. The only people who are supposed to offer termination of pregnancy are people, maybe like people who are really in that area. This is not a simple thing. This is not just somebody like a clinical officer. Just because they are trained health professional, they can just help you tell that we need to bring this pregnancy to an end. This needs to go through people who are really professional in that area. Not just it's very open. A trained health profession. That's very open. That's very open. Anybody can give you that advice, and that is an area that can be abused. That can be an area that can be abused if we just open door that any doctor or any clinical officer can give that kind of advice.
But they are trained.
Yeah, trained in what area? That's what I'm talking about.
So the question is, so the question here is,
I know
the area of training.
You know, and I know that doctors, for example, like a dentist is trained as a dentist. You know that a gynecologist is trained as a gynecologist. Yeah. So where are they not talking about people who are supposed to handle that, and it's just an open that a trained health profession. So we are just actually looking at areas where these things can be abused. If a dentist tells you to have an abortion, this bill supports that. any clinical, it is supposed to define them.
Okay.
So those are some of the areas that we're looking at. Maybe let's look at Article 26, verse 26. I was just about to say verse 1. You know?
It is 26.
26 one. We go to see. We go to see. There exists a substantial risk that the fetus would suffer from a severe physical or mental abnormality that is incompatible with life outside the womb. Yeah? According to our Constitution 2010,
yes,
it recognizes that personhood, the personhood of the preborn, definitely, life begins, according to our Constitution. That is the issue we had in 2010, you remember? Whereby we were saying that life, according to our Constitution, anybody in the womb is a person. That's according to our Kenyan Constitution today.
Allow me, you know, looking at part 5 of where we're talking about the termination of pregnancy, and then we seek the indulgence of the Constitution of Kenya.
Yes.
Article 26, Section 4 actually states that on the issue about a termination of life.
So are you at the Constitution?
Yes.
The bill or the Constitution?
No, the Constitution now.
Okay.
Because we will be borrowing from both.
Good.
Because actually this has always been where most of these bills are drawn from. So abortion, this is what it states. The Constitution of Kenya, Article 26, Section 4. It says that abortion is not permitted unless in the opinion of a trained health professional there is need for emergency treatment, or the life of health of the mother is in danger, or if permitted by any other written law. That is the Constitution.
And by the way, you have noticed we are not talking about the Constitution. By the way, I just wanted to definitely it is. But that does not mean because it is a guiding principle of our country that even got apostate. You know where we have any other written law. That is an issue we still have with the Constitution, any other written law. But please. Let me just continue with what I was saying in terms of. So we're saying that the Constitution of Kenya 2010 recognizes a kid in the body, in the womb, as a person. It is therefore unconstitutional to deliberately kill a preborn through termination of pregnancy on the grounds of their physical or mental disability. Physical disabled people have a right. I think, Mr. Karanja, you are fast with what is happening in the world today.
Yes.
Whereby, and it's widely agreed that mothers can go to the hospitals and do a scan, and if maybe the kid is disabled and they don't like it, that the pregnancy can be terminated. Some countries have allowed that to happen, but this is what we are seeing coming into our country, whereby that disabled kid in the womb. They also have, I know we are protected, we may say the mother wants, but the kid want to live. And things to do with disability, that is an area that only God can handle. We don't have a hand in that. If you discover that, for example, by the way, I'm a little bit passionate on this. My brother, my very brother, our last born at home, he is disabled. And he's such a wonderful guy, a wonderful boy. He's now in his 30s. He's such a wonderful young man. And I was really actually thinking, what if maybe this thing was in place and there's a law, any other written law, you see, maybe that one will be another discussion, in a law that comes to play that you can kill a kid in the womb just because they are disabled. We want to defend the rights of any kid in the womb, whether they are disabled, whether they are not the sex that you wanted. Maybe like, for example, we kind of we went through that. Definitely we don't have the advantage of time, but we talked about this. The surrogate mother amewekwa mtoto, si ndio? Then after a while discover the mtoto you wanted, because like a surrogate parent, the commissioning parents, maybe they want a boy who looks like this. Then they discover the kid doesn't look like that. So what happened to that kid? That kid is a kid who has a right to live. So actually, basically, in this area of termination, we are defending life. We are saying, unless the health of the mother is in danger, and it is certified by a health professional, and that area, I don't want to go to the Constitution, but that area also is an area we had an issue with. So But definitely that's what we are talking about. We are defending life in the womb. Whether they are disabled or not disabled, they need to live. So Article 27, if you can go there,
Yes.
Article 27, verse number 1.
We will allow, I believe the producers will allow you to use the word verse.
Oh, good. But it is a verse, by the way.
So it's 27,
1.
1.
Yeah. By the way, this one has we really have an issue also with this one. That a trained health professional has a conscientious, is conscious, is objecting. Let me just read it through.
Yes.
As a conscientious objection to the termination of the pregnancy, as envisaged under the Act, shall, except in the case of emergency treatment, refer the pregnant woman to a trained health professional who is willing to provide the service. Number 2, a trained health professional in subsection 1,
Yes.
who does not refer, based on your conscience. You know, like let's say for example, I'm thinking of this doctor who is believing like me. Yes. Because we have doctors who think like I'm thinking. Yeah, we have Christian doctors who think like we do. We have Christian doctors who are born again, and their first book is the Bible before we go to the Constitution and other acts. So then this doctor comes, and this mother comes, and they want an abortion. The parent maybe has consented, and everyone has said they need an abortion. This article says that who does not refer a pregnant woman as specified under subsection 1, they will be committing an offense and is liable on conviction to imprisonment for a term of 3 years, or a fine of 1 million shillings, or both fine and imprisonment.
Okay.
Now there, actually, do you know, we find that one as a direct battle against people of faith, doctors of faith. Doctors who are pro-life, because we also know that doctors will be pro-life. I know some people will be definitely, even this one has been brought by some people maybe who may not think. Some people believe that life begins at birth. We may have doctors who believe life begins at birth. So to them to perform an abortion is just an easy thing. But we have doctors who believe that life begins at conception. But now these doctors again, they are tied to a law that if you don't agree to that, and we know what it means by referring. Referring is not just telling somebody, oh, Nakaraja, kuna hospital ingine iko pale Gate House. That's not referring. Referring is you write something. Referring, you write and you agree to whatever you refer that I am not able to perform this operation. This operation needs to be performed, but I'm not going to perform it. Please perform it in hospital or doctor XYZ. So we find here we need also to protect our actually, according to us, this provision is unnecessary. This one is actually necessary. This is unnecessary. It's not supposed even to be there, because we find that this is a kind of a direct attack to doctors of faith or doctors who are pro-life, because they will never do some things that the article kind of is promoting.
Okay. So that will be another issue that has also stemmed out of this discussion.
Yes.
Has been on the reproductive health of adolescents.
Yes, definitely of adolescents.
Provided in Part 7.
Yes.
Article. And it reads that the national government shall collaborate with county governments to ensure that adolescents have access to adolescent-friendly reproductive health services. Adolescent-friendly reproductive health services shall include age-appropriate. Age-appropriate?
Yes, good.
You remember that has been an issue?
Yes.
Where you were talking about 10-year-olds.
Age-appropriate defined by who?
Okay.
So, you know, we actually, Mr. I think you understand where I'm coming from, because I just want things to be clear. When you say age appropriate and where the teaching is coming from, you know, they're supposed to be. Definitely, just continue. Okay. But that's our issue. That's our issue.
So, age appropriate,
yes.
1, mentorship programs, 2, spiritual
wonderful programs.
Spiritual and moral guidance.
Wonderful.
C, counseling on abstinence consequences.
Wonderful.
Of abortion,
Wonderful.
Sexually transmitted infections and
Wonderful.
HIV, substance and drug abuse. Pastor Alex, when you say wonderful, does that mean that you
support?
Yes,
all those number 1 from A to D to E, I support. F,
A to E.
F, I throw it away.
So, those who are watching, Pastor
No,
Alex.
sorry. Just read it through again. Sorry,
Okay,
for
so
interrupting.
that is mentorship program,
Yeah.
spiritual and moral guidance,
Yes.
counseling on abstinence. I had a question at B. Let us stop at B for a minute. When the senator proposed that there should be reproductive health services provided,
Yes.
spiritual and moral guidance, Pastor Alex, are the pastors and the parents of this country failing?
Yes and no.
Yes,
You know, number one, I would say yes because some of the parents, based on our culture, there are some things we don't talk about. And that's an area that the parents, maybe, and even the pastor would be feeling. Me being a pastor, maybe based on the culture where I come from, there are some things that were considered taboos. For example, I'm supposed to sit with I have myself. I have a daughter who is now 14 years of age. I'm supposed to sit with my daughter and maybe talk about areas, things to do with it. I am supposed to provide some sexual education from the father's point of view. Also, as a pastor, if you're raising kids in Sunday school and even adults, whatever, you're supposed to have, maybe you're supposed to give guidance as a spiritual leader in relation to matters sex and matters health. It is not happening. It is not happening, and that is there's a vacuum there, and that is what we are. Maybe if you ask me later, the way forward, what we think as a church should be happening.
Yeah, we will be coming to that.
But definitely there's a gap there. I really support what you're saying, that maybe the parents are not doing as they're supposed to. Maybe the pastors are not doing as they're supposed to.
Because if you look at subsection, still under part 7, part 3, a healthcare provider from whom reproductive health services are sought by an adolescent shall refer the adolescent to a qualified person for the provision of the necessary services. Now, this means that this bill now provides a platform or an opportunity for these adolescents, for these parents who are not able to have the talk with their children to send them there.
Yeah, to send them there. Now that there can also again be where is there?
To a trained, to a qualified person.
Yeah. Now definitely that's where we need to come in as a church in matters B, where you're talking about spiritual and moral guidance, and come out strongly and also encourage the pastors to be among the people that the parents can come to and the kids can be brought to. So this is an area that we need to open the churches on.
Pastor Alex, allow me to cut you short.
Yes.
We have had cases.
Yes, we have had cases.
Not one, not two, of pastors who have been found defiling even young children. Okay. Do you think the senator is coming from that?
We have had cases where doctors. We have had cases where anyone even relatives. So we cannot handle that one as a, because definitely if we cannot just, like, for example, I heard of the news the other day. There was during the curfew, you have that Nairobi, you cannot get to Nairobi, but we have maybe like 2-3 policemen who are being bribed for people to get to Nairobi.
Yes.
Does that mean that the police force is rotten?
Let us not, because that one can be another discussion.
I'm just saying this. I'm just using an example that if you have ever had maybe a pastor who has killed somebody, or if you ever had a pastor who has raped somebody,
that does not mean all pastors. I totally agree with you.
Even
I totally agree with you on that.
Maybe we don't lose the one who is listening to us. Leave the rest again.
So that was consequences of counseling on one, abstinence.
Yes.
Which is actually a big thing right now, because if we look at the numbers that are there, they are just unbelievable. We have young kids, young girls who are falling, who are getting pregnant. I have a report here from the National Council on Population and Development that was published in March this year. It stated that more than 2,000 minors between the ages of 10 and 14 years old had been driven into early parenthood. Yes.
Do you know, even before you go to the numbers, even one, not even thousands, not even 20,000, even if it is one girl who has been maybe forced to become a parent or something like that, it needs to be handled seriously. So definitely these are areas that we need to look at. How have we been teaching abstinence before? Has it been really captured well into our education system, or even at the church level, even at the home level? How is it being promoted? But I want you to read, because I wanted to show you where I have an issue as a church on Article 32.
Thank you, Pastor. So that was sexually transmitted infections and HIV/AIDS. The mentorship on that also. Then training in livelihood and life skills, vocational trainings, and such other health services as the cabinet secretary shall determine.
Now, we have an issue as a church with number F. Read number F again.
Such other health services as the CS shall determine.
Yes. That one can open door to things that are not on this list, that are not in line with the word of God. That number F is a very big open door. We definitely, all this number 1 to number 2 and all the counseling and sexual about AIDS and teaching kids on that, up to number E, we are in support of that, and we lead in support of that. But number F, let me remind you something. Maybe just allow me to use this example. When we were discussing the marriage bill, so they defined marriage as maybe differently between a male and a female. There was a civil marriage and all that, and then there was a number like F that was saying, and such others that a cabinet secretary can determine. And then they asked, even in our parliament, they asked, which is that new thing that you cannot list today, that will come later? Which is that new way of helping adolescent children that you need F to stand for? Which is that you have left out? So here, according to us, the cabinet secretary, maybe we may be having a very wonderful health cabinet secretary today. We may be having a wonderful man there who is really pro-life, who is really in support of what God says. But just in case we get somebody else to come in, and they are not really for us and for the word of God and for God, and they clip in things to do with other teachings that are not godly to our adolescents, as long as they determine them to be okay, they'll be put on this list as number F and G and going on. So that is also another area that as a church we want people to note that number F. We are okay with all those others, but number F we have an issue with. So maybe
I have been informed by our crew that we are running short of time. I wish we had more time to spend. What are the alternative suggestions by the clergy?
Maybe just to mention quickly, this bill, this bill and all that is happening in our country, we have all this report on teenage pregnancies, and the need of having a bill that would be maybe support our kids and give them good education, which maybe the mind that advised the senator to come up with this bill, although we have noted those areas that we need to be checked and to be and she also needs to involve us maybe and come and sit with us maybe, and we have a look at it together. Even as Nakuru, by the way, as Nakuru clergy, we have not started with our senator. But the church, there are levels at to which our eyes have been opened, even as parents, that there is an area that we have not handled as seriously as we should have been doing. And one of the things that we are doing, by the way, we are waiting for, even as Nakuru, we have already planned for this. As soon as the churches come back, and
we shall be looking at that shortly.
That's an area. I'm saying that is an area that we are going to sit together with our as pastors, and we are going to come up with kind of trainings for children in matters sex and sexual reproduction, as the Bible teaches, and we are going to handle those as serious topics, the way we handle the topic of prayer. For example, I don't know whether you go to church, but there's a way we handle the topic. There's a way we handle prayer, and the pastor leader is planning, tomorrow I'm teaching on prayer. We want our pastors also to be empowered. Some maybe leader, they have this empowerment, but we are going to look at ways of empowering the pastor to a point that they are going to bring this kind of sexual knowledge and teachings that go along with the Bible to our children, to our teenagers. So the church is coming in. I'm not saying the church has been doing nothing. The church also has helped so many young people, even as of today. Yeah, we do. Like me, I'm involved in several programs that we go to schools, and we have all these testimonies of kids who say that before you taught me that, I did not know about it, but because of what you have told me in this PPI program, then I have changed my life. I'm going to abstain and all that. But definitely, what I'm saying is these are the areas that where parents and pastors are supposed, especially the parents, by the way, we are supposed to empower them, and definitely one of the ways that we empower parents mainly are in the churches. That's why they come for a lot of spiritual help, whereby from the church, because I'm saying that because a pastor is really well received when they say something, where we need to empower parents and give them the material and give them the knowledge that this is what you're supposed to talk to your girl, this is what you're supposed to talk to your boy. Definitely the church is not silent in this matter, and as soon as the church comes back, we have programs that we are thinking of bringing into place so that we can have our girls and our boys helped. But all the same, what I would say is that our God is a God who loves life. Anything that is not supporting life, we will never support as a church. We will never support anything that is going to affect the life of a person, whether they're in the mother's womb or whether they're outside. Even people when they are killed by police, we are not supporting that. It's not only, we defend life. We defend life. By the way, yesterday, I went in our neighborhood. In the morning, kuna vijana wawili walikuwa wameoa pale na raia, and I spoke about that. I said, no, this is not right. As much as they walikuwa wakora tuseme, it was mob justice, but we are not supposed to take life. So whether we are taking life when womb, whether we are taking life when people are born, whether it's mob justice, the church supports people's life.
As the chairperson of the Nakuru Pastors Fellowship, is the church ready to reopen?
Yes, the church is ready to reopen. By the way, today I've just come from a meeting, and we are ready to reopen. Mr. Karanja, this thing is very simple, according to the church. And I'm speaking for Nakuru. You were in that meeting that we definitely were quite a number of us. We were actually questioning ourselves and asking ourselves, why should we not open? Number one, we are aware of the regulations put by WHO, whereby you clean your hands, sanitize, put on a mask, do social distance. I think the meetings will happen. And as a church, we are ready to do that. We are ready to do that. And beyond that, we are ready, like what we have come up with in Nakuru. We want to have we will all sit together and come to I don't know what the government is going to tell us as a direction, but according to us, our readiness is we are going even to check on ourselves. Like, for example, you have a church, I have a church. There's an agreement I need to sign that I'm going to go with these rules that the government have laid in place. So in case we find you not following the rules, we treat you as an individual. You're not treated as a church in whole. If one pastor is messing up, not every pastor is messing up. So that pastor is needed to be helped. Maybe there's something he doesn't have or something he doesn't know. He'll be handled as an individual. But the church is very much ready to come back. The church, and but I also want to say we are not coming back because of tithe and offerings. After we give that statement, oh no, if you on my page, so many people really attacked me, and they are saying that ni pesa mnataka. We don't like I don't do church because of money. Okay. I do church because it is a calling. What is actually eating me up now is my calling to reach out to the people, which I've been doing even before the churches were closed. I was reaching to the young people, I was going to schools, I was reaching to the people on the road, I was doing all that. And definitely on Sunday, I was preaching to my people in the church. So that calling is actually, kuna kitu ina niuma, as a calling, is burning. Okay. And that is where the pastors are, we are not leading. Do you know, we had a discussion today, sorry, maybe I'm taking more time. We had a discussion today, and one of the questions we were asking, what if the pastors are given money by government? For example, just thinking wildly. If the government would say, we are going to pay the pastors, then the pastor said, it doesn't even matter. Even if we are given money by government, we still want our ministry back. We want our churches back. We want to preach the way we used to preach, definitely following the regulations, because what is actually eating the pastor is a calling. And maybe nobody is actually looking at that. Do you know, even doctors, some doctors don't work because of money. They work because it's a calling. Some policemen, people in service, like a police service, they're not quite a big number. They're not there because of the salary at the end of the month. They're doing it as a calling. Maybe even you here, Bwana Karanja.
Yes.
Maybe you're not here because of the money that you get. You're doing this as a calling. And pastors definitely is a call from God. This is not a course that we chose in high school or in university. This is something that it just came. So you're doing it because God has called you to do that. So pastors are ready to come back, and we are ready to serve the community as we used to. Even right now, we are not silent. We are praying for the country. We are doing all that we can from the level that we are, but we are hoping that come 6th, the president will just say the churches can go back and follow the regulations. We will obey the regulations, and we are going to continue giving service to the community. We love our country. We love our government. And let me end by saying we love our senator. We are not fighting her, but we have an issue with the bill.
Okay. Thank you, Pastor Alex Maina from Deliverance Church, Kiamunyi. It's been between the lines. We've been discussing the Reproductive Health Bill 2019, proposed by Senator Susan Kihika. In studio, we had the Nakuru Pastors Fellowship Chairperson, who has helped us to delve into the issue and discuss pertinent issues that the clergy here in Nakuru and in the wider Kenyan area having issues with the said bill. Keep the discussion going on our platforms, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. We shall be getting back to you. From here in studio, it's goodbye, take care, and stay safe.